Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel we like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. Now, I really enjoy eyeshadow singles, duochromes, blush, highlight, lip gloss, basically everything except pressed glitter. And today, I'm going to show you 15 of the prettiest palettes in my collection and 5 of the ugliest. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick with me right into it right now. Now if you like this eyeshadow look, stick around because there's going to be a video coming up with this little $5 Wet n Wild Fantasy Makers palette. But yeah, I basically set out on a mission for all the palettes that I've tried in my collection. What are the prettiest? And then as I was picking those out, because I was going to limit myself to 10, didn't, shocking. Then I thought, you know what, let's do the flip side of this too and show you 5 of the ugliest palettes that I have. Maybe ugly isn't the nicest word to use, but it is what it is. Let me get the palettes and we're going to get right into this. And this might actually be cheating, but the 5 palettes that I picked that were kind of the ugliest in my collection all come from the same brand. And it's Saint's Angel Sinners, which I have not purchased from since all of their controversies and everything came through. But they had these palettes and like they just put these like crazy loud, busy, multiple fonts, lots of clip art. Things are not like in focus and clear, which I'm not a fan of. You've got like so many different patterns and fonts and stuff. And for some of them, here's number 4. For some of them, like this one, then the inside has like all this chaos, like you can barely read the names of the shadows because you've got this plaid that's going over it. So I don't know, it's a lot, like overwhelms me a lot to the point where I kind of want to depot them. If you've ever depotted any Saint's Angel Sinners, let me know how your experience was, because yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't know how to handle palettes that look like that in my collection. Alright, let's get to the pretty stuff because that was what I was most excited to talk about. Coming in at number 15 is the Starry Night palette. Coming in at 15 is the Starry Night palette, and this is from Storybook Cosmetics. Now, I picked this one out because I thought the actual like remake of Van Gogh's picture was really pretty. I do like the packaging, you know, also that it has this like cute little drawer in it too. These palettes that I'm going to talk about have nothing to do with the quality of the shades inside. I literally was just picking out based on packaging. So this is not like my 15 favorite palettes or anything like that, but this one came out at 15, and the reason I put it at the very bottom is because it's kind of cheating. Like somebody else made this up, you know what I mean? So I thought it was cool that they used it, but it definitely wasn't like an original thing, so I put it at the bottom. Coming in at 14, this palette, ABH Norvina. I loved the hollow, like, I know it's not a geode, but this kind of like fractal type pattern of all these like little strips of hollow. I thought that was really pretty. The inside just has like plain, you know, black and purple, but I thought the outside was super pretty, and when I first saw that this was sneak peeked, I was already ready to purchase before I even saw the inside, so I knew that's how it was going to end up making it into this list. At number 13, this was another palette I bought legitimately just for the packaging because I was not a fan of the color story at all. I think the color story is just like way too light and bland, but this like kind of carousel, this golden carousels and the little stars and the pink and the white and the cream colors, like it's just a really beautiful packaging, beautiful design. So even though I was not drawn to the color story, I ended up picking this up because it was so pretty. So coming in at number 12 was the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, and I debated between this one and the Mercury Retrograde palette, but I thought this one was like a little bit prettier. I love that you have kind of these like veins running through this agate slice, and then you have this kind of like hollow underneath that just catches in the light really beautifully. The actual acrylic is kind of like smoked out, so it's not like a perfect see-through acrylic, which I think is kind of cool and makes each of the actual palettes unique, because I'm sure everybody's is smoked a little bit differently. But I do think all those things together make this a really pretty palette, which is why it got onto the list. Then coming in at 11 is Melt Gemini 2. Now this is the redone packaging. I know they redid Gemini 1 as well, but I loved these little roses. You've got this beautiful like metallic embossing that catches the light. It's a little bit textured, which I appreciate. I think all those things go together to really make this a very like beautiful palette. Like imagine like going traveling with this. Like this is pretty to look at when you get your makeup put on. So had to make it onto my list. There's a lot of like witchy spooky stuff on this list too. At some point I'm gonna do a like all of my spooky makeup collection video, probably closer to Halloween. But the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette, like this whole hollow picture, there we go. Look how pretty that is. That is just pretty, pretty, pretty. And I love all the like cute little designs. It's just very like nice to look at. Inside, of course, is just like generic color-wise in terms of the packaging, but the outside packaging I thought was really pretty. Now I couldn't put it all the way at the top because it couldn't get up there, but this is literally the first thing that I was convinced to purchase from the By Beauty Bay brand. Wow, I'm shocked I got that out the first try, because of how pretty the packaging was. So, all right, number 9 is the Colored Rain and Power palette. This one is just all black roses, and I think it's so pretty. Like it mimics the intro credits to the show, which I think is awesome, or at least the original show. I stopped watching, but I think this was a really, really beautiful packaging. They had a big magnetic palette with this print on it too, and I'm so sad I missed out on it. But yeah, that is woo, pretty pretty. I like it. Alright, coming in at number 8, this is the Odins Eye and Giant Wolves palette within its makeup corner. Now I think there's going to be a good amount of Odins Eye in this video because their palettes, they just put so much extra attention into them. Like I could literally take any of their palettes out and put them onto this list. So I tried to be reasonable and not include like all of them, but I do think that they just put an inordinate amount of time into their packaging, which makes their stuff look really cool. So you have these little like elements of hollow that kind of go around the wolf. You have Annette sitting here. You have all this like fine detail in the eyes. Like the iris is not just one color, there's lots of different colors there. The only thing that I'm not in love with is just this kind of like marbled menagerie here at the bottom. I think everything else in here just had a little bit more effort put into it, but overall I do still think this is really, really pretty, which is why it made it about halfway up my list. Coming in just above that at number 7 is the Kaleidos Futurism Astro 3. Are you guys sensing a theme here with like the agate, the little like metallic pops here? This one, when you open it up, it actually like the coloring goes all the way through, which I appreciate. And the only thing that I don't love about this packaging is the fact that the words are on this stupid paper. Like that's such a annoyance to deal with. But I do think that the actual artwork is really pretty, catches the light nicely, so easy to travel with, like gorgeous little palette. And then coming in at number 6 was the Drench Cosmetics Lunar Retrograde, and this one you've got the phases of the moon, you've got Lunar Retrograde written in like hollow type here. I just think it's a really pretty palette, and then again on the actual palette itself you get the same that same look, which I think is awesome. The inside is just white, which is, the inside is just white, which is fine, but I think the outside is where this palette really shines. And then coming in at number 5, this is the Colourpop A Limoncello palette. This palette, and I'm so sorry I keep looking down, you guys. This palette, when they like sneak peeked this, the tile, the lemons, the like kind of Italian summer vibe that they gave, I was so excited for this palette. I knew even if the inside was like a completely boring color story that I was still gonna get it, and this color story is definitely like, this is not me, right? Like we can see these are a little bit different vibes, but I really do love this palette, and I think the color story is so pretty. I think it will probably survive every declutter that I ever do because of how pretty the palette is. Coming in at number 4 is the Colored Rain Thunder palette, which I recently did a video on, and I just had to include it because, like, check that out, you guys. You can see the clouds going into the lightning. Like, that is just super cool. I love the lenticular image there. And then the inside actually carries through some of the like electric lightning bolts here and here. I think is really, really pretty. So for me, this one definitely had to rank pretty high because they put a lot of effort into making this. The only thing that I think is kind of ironic is that a lot of their packaging is like lightning themed and the palette's called Thunder. Like, why they didn't just call it lightning, I don't know, but it's like a weird thing there. Alright, coming in at number 3. This palette, again, packaging made me buy it. The Evil Mermaid palette from Cosmetics. The whole front and back have this same like spooky, swampy skull with like made of fish scales. I think that is so cool. The inside has the same picture, no mirror, and then your shades here. And I do think it's a really pretty color story. Like, don't get me wrong, this was so much fun to play with, but this packaging, like, guarantee you this is half of why I bought the palette, because it was so, so pretty. I mean, how could you not? How could you? How could you not? Alright, coming in at number 2 was the Odins and Angelica Hella palette. Now, first of all, being that I'm like a medical nerd, I loved the fact that you have like the heart and the bones here, that you have like half a skeleton over here. Like, this whole thing is really cool. And then when you slide it out, you get the same exact image but in color. And I actually kind of like the black and white even more than the color, because I think the black and white just makes it so like vibrant and intense. But I really do like how they played with color on the cover of this to mimic the colors that are inside the palette itself. But this had to go super high on my list because of how cool it looks. And then coming in at number 1, I don't think there is a cooler palette in my collection, a cuter, prettier, more awesome palette than Moonspell. The original OG Moonspell. Like, you've got all this pretty artwork on the front cover. You've got this little like lock. The side they made look like golden pages. The back, you've got the hands here. Like, this is just such a cool palette. It's so like witchy and spooky and interesting. So for me, it definitely had to rank like high on my list because of how much effort and time went into the palette. Because, you know, you're always going to have palettes that are like plain black packaging or plain white packaging, or, you know, it's just like a random color or a little picture. But for some of these palettes, like, somebody clearly took a lot of time and energy into putting together a beautiful, like, aesthetically pleasing image, and I really appreciate that. So you're going to have to let me know in a comment down below, what are some of the palettes in your collection that you would argue are the prettiest palettes in your collection? Because, I mean, I really had to try to exercise some self-control into putting this list together. There are so many palettes I have in my collection that are very, very eye-catching. So let me know what some of your favorites are down below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'm going to catch you in my next video. Bye!